distinction between why Caters was charged versus the explanations they've given why the other ones weren't charged, whatever player, whatever team.
Is the answer to that question the fact that it's different people reviewing it? In terms of the person reviewing the Bentley incident is a different person to the person reviewing the Flower incident. And as human beings, our opinions vary, depending on what mood we're in, what we're looking at. All these kind of things can happen, and it can influence. One minute we're ready to chuck a guy under the bus, the next minute we're trying to be a bit more conciliatory. That kind of thing will lead to variation in charging.
It will, yeah. So I suppose that's then how does the process remove some of that inconsistency, isn't it?
It's like who's or what is the process in terms of reviewing the initial reviewer, if you like.
That's one of the things you lose when you try to streamline the process more.
Yeah.
So then you need the sort of transparency and visibility over how those people are assessing each incident and to make sure they aren't different. Because, Nathan McAvoy, who was an outside back, might have a very different view to Danny Sculthorpe, who was a prop forward. That's kind of what you're suggesting, I suppose, in a way, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but just people have different opinions, and in just the same way that we all argue about the Man of Steel points this week are a load of bullshit. It's the same with the disciplinary. We're all different, and we all vary in our approach and our appreciation of varying elements of the game. So the trouble is, unless you're talking about one person making the same decision for everything, you're always going to have inconsistency because that's just the nature of people. You're just trying to iron out.
The panel is quite small, the match review panel.
You're just trying to iron out the worst excesses of difference, aren't you? You're trying to make sure that you don't have one person saying an A, one person saying a C type stuff.
I suppose if we had like Paul Cullen doing those videos again, and if he explained the process that they go through to review the reviews, as it were, that'd help answer that sort of stuff. And then everyone does have to accept you can't remove all inconsistency.
No, because error is human and all that.
But my issue with the process as it is, as much as I like some of the streamlining, and I do think overall we are seeing more consistency in terms of what gets charged and what doesn't get charged. I think the problem sits maybe more in the grading of stuff. But my problem from that is, and why I can determine that, is I can read the explanations of what hasn't been charged, what has been looked at but decided there's no case to answer, there's no charge to look into, versus the stuff where there has a charge. I don't get to see that stuff before. I spent a lot of time a few years ago, and people might call me a nerd or whatever, it's true, so I don't care, going through all the disciplinary information that was on the RFL website. I think I did a very full and thorough assessment of 2013, 14, maybe I went into 15 and 16. I think I stopped at a certain point when I had other things going on in my life that I couldn't do this every week. And then also the reporting of it got worse. Not worse, we saw less information, should I say.
Yes.
And then the process changed and we see even less information. So I can't go through all the decisions that I made and all the incidents that I looked at now and comment on the consistency as much as I could then. I do feel quite strongly about it. I do feel, as you can tell and stuff. And I know John clearly feels quite strongly about it and stuff as well. I don't know what analysis other people out there have done over the disciplinary either. I'm always interested to see this sort of stuff, just because it's a topic that raises so much angst and annoyance between fan bases, thinking that their players are getting treated worse. So what I managed to do is convince myself that our team aren't getting treated any worse by any inherent bias that spans across the whole way it's all assessed. There's no inherent bias in the system, I don't think, against or for certain players and teams. I personally don't think there is from every piece of assessment I've ever done of this process, but there is still things that I don't understand.
Yeah.
Shall we talk more about the game?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, but we needed to deal with it because it was a flashpoint in the game. So
yeah,
but yeah,
and it will be interesting to see what happens with the pattern side of this because, like I say, I think there was a bite, but anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
in terms of the game itself, how were Warrington able to do so well when they had such a scratched together side? They had two young debutants off the bench, the first two Ellises to play in Super League certainly since SLP started. I can't think of any more with the first name Ellis. Louis Johnson, who hasn't played much this year either. Stephen Ratchford and Toby King were moved into the pack.
Yeah.
How did they manage to be so effective against the Black and Whites coming off the big win that they just had?
Players in their first choice position, i.e. Cooper, performed above and beyond what you would expect. And players playing out of position like Ratchford and King. King's always good. I barely see the guy have a bad game, but Ratchford was able to flex and perform as you would expect a loose forward to perform. So they were able to cover for their shortages that they had, and they weren't putting pressure on their young, inexperienced players. The young, inexperienced players could come in and do a limited job, just do me 10 hit-ups and 20 tackles and I'm happy type stuff. So they were able to kind of cover for their weaknesses because of the performances of their star players.
Yeah.
Austins and the Ratchfords and the Coopers and these kind of players were able to do that for them. That for me was the difference, because Hull FC were in it at half time, but then they drifted out of it.
Well, this is one of the other things I was going to pick out in mitigation for Hull FC. Jamie Shaw going off at half time and the big shift around that they now had to do. Partly it was helped for Hull FC by the fact that they had outside backs on the bench. Mahe Fanua was able to come in, wasn't he, and play in the centre, and Josh Griffin went to fullback. But it was still people playing probably in their second preferred position rather than or second or third preferred position. And it was an in-game shift around, whereas that didn't have to happen for Warrington. They got to play how they planned to play for the 80 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you've said this before, haven't you, that in-game disruptions are always much worse than midweek kind of stuff, and perhaps that was the difference. But yeah, I mean, in the end, disappointingly, obviously, FC made a lot of errors, which is kind of, I don't know how many of those were in the second half, but I'd wager that quite a lot of them were when they're kind of pushing the game a bit.
Those numbers are insane. I don't trust those numbers, but I think one of the things for Hull FC as well is some of their players who've been really good, even when they've been bad recently, weren't really good in this game. So Carlos Tumavave and Josh Griffin being two examples. I think Griffin being a bit limited by the shift around and stuff, but Tumavave's been fantastic, hasn't he, for Hull FC, even when they've been bad. And in this game, he made a lot of the mistakes. Manu Mao seemed to lack some of especially as the game went on, he seemed to lack some of what he'd been able to demonstrate in his enthusiasm, energy, and physicality in some of his other performances, I thought, as well. And that had an impact as well as the game went on, I did feel.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But yeah, it was a good win for the Wire.
Yeah, and of the players who didn't get any points given to them, I'd like to talk about Jake Mamo as having a really top game for Warrington. I think he's going to be making himself hard to drop after his last 2 or 3 performances. I think he's been impressive in a kind of a utility play where we need you to play kind of circumstance. He's done well.
Yeah, and a quick word. I thought Matty Ashton's an interesting one for me. I always feel he might either make a break or drop the ball, and I'm never quite sure which one of those it's going to be. But he's, I thought he was pretty good in this game, kind of coming in and covering at fullback.
Yeah,
he was good too.
Yeah, there's an edge of his seat nature about him, but like you say, I don't think it's part of that's because of the unexpected and lack of surety about what's going to happen. Stat line of the week. I'm going to move away from individuals this week and say 1,944 metres by St Helens in that game. It's just a phenomenal effort.
Okay.
Only the second team to go over 1,900 metres in a game in Super League in the last 7 years.
I can't disagree with that. I'm going to go more conventional, and I'm going to go very biased. And I'm going to pick out Elliot Minchella for going both ways. A couple of tries, plenty of metres, 50 tackles, 11 marker tackles. I think that's a very good performance.
Player of the week, I'm sort of torn between Abdul and Cooper, I think.
Well, I was going to say Cooper, so why don't you go for Abdul?
There you go. Any particular try stand out for you as the highlight of the week?
My highlight isn't a try. My highlight is Watts getting a broken rib and getting up and getting really pissed off.
Yeah.
That's my highlight of the week.
I'm going to go with Eccles' try because that was the one true moment this weekend where I was like, wow.
That's good play.
I was wowed by the play.
Yeah. No, I can't disagree with that one. That was probably it was the most intricate and bamboozling try of the week, I would say.
Do you want to give us the standings in Super League?
Yep. So Saints moved top on points difference ahead of Warrington, with Wigan falling to third, but all 14 points from 10 games. Catalans stay fourth despite not playing. It's 10 points from 7 games. Leeds are fifth, Castle in sixth with 10 points from 8 and 10 games respectively. Huddersfield and Hull FC have 8 points from 9 and 10 games respectively. The bottom three, Salford, Wakefield and Hull KR, have 4 points from 9, 8 and 9 games. And that's just going to continue all year.
Yeah, I think what they're hoping is the teams that have got short on games are going to get knocked out of the Challenge Cup.
This is the thing. Catalan getting through in the cup was not a good thing.
Yeah, they need Cass and Leeds, not Cass and Leeds, Catalans and Leeds and Wakefield. Well, Wakefield are already out, but they need those teams to get knocked out in the cup, don't they?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Right. Okay. Predictions and all of that good stuff. So last week I went 3 out of 4, Sarah went 2 out of 4, and Joshua went 1 out of 4. I think the Hull FC view for those two was a bit of a problem, and none of us got Hull KR winning because, let's face it, only Tom Andrews and his miraculous bet got that going.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, nice.
Fantastic.
Gambling's wrong, kids, but not if you win.
I mean, that was a real gamble, though, wasn't it? That was unbelievable. That was one of those, I've got a £5 left in my betting account and I need to just get rid of it to stop making silly little bets that I'm just cycling over. Let's do something stupid that's either going to come off and win me 250 quid or... Anyway, in the host Super Route, I stay top somehow because I had another bad week. Tim is second and wearing the yellow cap, and Alan is third and Sarah fourth. In the main Super Roof, Steve Pye stays top and John Bennett wears the yellow cap. Although that was what Tim and John were the yellow cap wearers last week, so I don't know if that's not been updated or if they're just in good form, and we'll say good form for now. In the Fantasy League, Alan Bagley stays at the top, although second place Liam Reddington ate into his leader bit with a weekly top score of 799, and I was like, whoa, from 4 games, that's amazing. I wonder how he ranks in the whole competition. And someone out there scored over 900 points this weekend. 900 points!
Yeah, pass. Don't know how he did that. I'm guessing you had Paul Abdul in your team, but God knows how.
Remarkable stuff anyway. Well done to everyone who's performing well in those competitions. Thanks for everyone for their fan views on the action and the disciplinary stuff as well. Really got us talking and we enjoyed that. So it's just a shame there's a couple of games I didn't have many in, so maybe, hopefully, if you're watching a game next week, do remember to drop us your fan views. If you're on Twitter, the links will be hopping out around about 5 or 10 minutes after the game's finish to prompt you to send in your fan views, or if you're not on Twitter, go to superleaguepod.com, go on the episode blog post, and there'll be links within there to send us